Still in the studio, the track so cold. Still representing smoking across the globe. Still Arizona hot, man, we blown. Still ride or die with my West Coast flow. Still in the studio, the track so cold. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, baby. High Tide Stick is in effect. That's right. Live in effect, coming to you from Tampa, Florida. You're on High Tide Stick with the Doc MistaTre. This is live on High Tide Stick. By the way, coming up soon, we got a couple of new shows we're going to be adding with a couple new hosts. Not gonna. I don't really want to get into, who's going to be joining the team here at High Tide Stick or anything like that. I mean, one of them should be blatantly obvious. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Chris Watkins is going to be joining the team. He's going to be having a show based out of Michigan. We also have another show that we're trying to get started out of Colorado, all part of the High Tide Stick radio family. So we'll have High Tide Stick Bay City, and then we'll have High Tide Stick. The other show, we're literally in the pre-planning phases, which, in business talk, all that means is that we're getting there, but make no mistake about it, it still takes a lot of work. It takes a tremendous amount of work for what we really do here at High Tide Stick, believe it or not. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you think radio is easy, I encourage you to try it yourself and start it yourself. Just broadcasting a signal and just getting your message out there is it's a tough feat to accomplish, believe it or not. And it's just it's a lot of work. But I mean, I ain't never been scared of work. I don't know if you're scared of work, but here at High Tide Stick, not scared of work. So a lot to do on the show today. We have a lot to cover. Chris Watkins may be joining us. I don't think we have any other guests scheduled, but we definitely have a lot of information to go over. A lot of new stories developing. Probably the biggest story developing right now for you is the story about the Russian airliner that crashed over in Egypt. It would appear, though, as that there are suggestions that a bomb may have been what brought down the Russian airliner not too long ago. It's definitely something that concerns me, and here's why. I mean, when you go overseas and you start looking at overseas as a potential place that you're going to travel, you have to really be cautious. You have to really be aware that the level of security and the detail to security there is nothing like here. Pretty much there, and I think one CNN analyst alluded to it best when he said, here would probably be a place, as he said, that he noticed like he's never really been, bothered or harassed. He's never really been, not issues really haven't been made in respect to his travel and things like that. But he did say that one of his colleagues that was traveling with him was actually stopped because she wasn't smiling. In a country where women tend to be considered a second-class citizen, I think that's more a derivative of the Muslim culture there. I know a lot of Muslim guys that love their wives. It's their only wife. They don't subscribe to the doctrine of 1,000 wives and all this other crazy-ish. It's just not who they are, okay? However, I know of, okay, because I don't personally know these extremists. I'm just I don't, I don't make it a point to hang out with, extremists from groups out there in the world. You know what I mean? But we will say that we've seen the extremists. We've seen the no holds bar, sort of. I would call it the crazies, if you would. Let's see here. So some of the stories we're going to be covering today. Colorado approves letting state keep pot taxes, coming from KRDO News Radio, my old home at ABC, right in Colorado Springs. So shout out to all my friends over there at KRDO. Miss you guys. Rachel Plath, Mike Lewis, Paul Richards. I know Mike and Paul are going to be like, of course you'd say Rachel first. Of course you'd say Rachel's fine ass first. And then mention us, who you actually worked with. Shout out to Marty Vinnicek too. He's no longer over there at KRDO ABC as the head meteorologist, or excuse me, as the on-air anchor meteorologist for the weather. But he's definitely the head of meteorology there at KRDO. Shout out to him as well. From Fox 17 in West Michigan, we have father fighting to use medical marijuana concentrates to protect that are not protected under law. This story struck me, and I actually posted this a couple of days ago, but due to some scheduling conflicts, we haven't had a show for a couple of days. But Americans killed by cops now outnumbers Americans killed in the Iraq War. They took numbers from the date that the war started till to date and found that 4,489 soldiers were killed. They took the number of Americans killed by police in the United States since the same exact date, and the number's over 5,000. So when I tell you it's safer to go to Iraq, I mean it. Now, statistically speaking, understand that you're talking about 4,489 people out of, 200,000 soldiers, right? Well, when you look at that number, the percentages are astronomical compared to the percentage of people killed by U.S. police force. So I want to be fair to that and say that yes, war is way more dangerous. However, we cannot deny that more people have died in the U.S. from being killed by cops than in a war that lasted over the same time span. That's a little scary if you ask me. I'm not saying more people should have died in war. I'm saying cops should stop killing less Americans. We'll get to that story, though. 2015 election results are in for Ohio, and issue 3 fails. Ohioans vote down the legalization of marijuana. We're going to be talking about that today, and why the doc actually 100% agrees with them. Side note, Nick Lachey, the former boy band and husband of Jessica Simpson, involved in this, reason why I think it's a bad idea that issue 3 would have passed in Ohio. I think that the Ohioans need to bring this back to the ballot next November on a national stage, and they need to get rid of some things that are the reason why I think it shouldn't have passed, and we'll get back to that. And of course, leading in our lead story today, intel suggested an ISIS bomb brought down the plane flying over Egypt, and this story is everywhere. It's all over ABC, CNN, CBS, headline news. I mean, it is everywhere, people, because it's that serious. I mean, it's that big of a deal. So we definitely want to attack this issue. It's one that I find to be disheartening, because think of it this way. You get on a plane, you're at 25,000-ish feet, right? 24, 25, 23,000 feet, whatever it is. And then you probably, within a matter of 5 seconds, hear an explosion. Your plane climbs 7,000 feet and then nosedives into the ground. Why do they think it's a bomb? Because the plane obviously came apart in the air. How do we know this? Simple. The tail of the plane is 3 miles away from the main body of wreckage, which means that they didn't crash together, because a debris field doesn't go for 3 or 4 miles like that generally. Generally, a debris field is going to be about a mile and a half long. You're going to see a scattered debris along that field. In this case, excuse me. In this, man, I'm telling you, I never had allergies until I moved to Colorado or here. In Arizona, I didn't have allergies. Weird. I'm doing all right here, but definitely a little sneezy this morning. Call me sneezy. Hard to breathe this morning, though. I'll say that. Um, it's 7, of course, it's 7:10 on the East Coast. It is, gee, my knees. It's 7:10 on the East Coast, 5:10 in the mountains in Colorado, where we get a huge base of our viewing audience and listening audience. And then, of course, it is it is 4:10 on the West Coast. So definitely, we absolutely have a lot going on. Oh my God. I cannot stop sneezing. It's driving me nuts. Hang on a second here. Wonder what I'm doing. What I always do. I'm on Facebook trying to promote this damn station. That's all. Love me, hate me for it. Until I get somebody who can do this while I'm working, this is the way it's got to go. We're doing the show a little early today because I have to work at 9, by the way, at my real job, you know, the job that pays the bills job. Let's see here. So anyway, like I said, a lot going on, a lot of good fun stuff, as always, to do in life. Let's see here. I got some big news too, by the way. Big announcement for the MistaTre camp. Important announcement for the MistaTre camp, nonetheless. And I don't know why that happened. Ugh. Sometimes I drive myself insane. Most people know this, but I just wanted to clarify that sometimes I drive myself insane. We're gonna have a couple music breaks today. As most of you know, until the commercial sponsorships flow back in, or until we find a cause to back, there's no commercial breaks. Bars Fest Tampa, 2016, July. That's going down. And now some bridges have been built out here in Tampa for me. Well, I worked on building those bridges, and some of the people that I've been working with locally have helped build those bridges. And so now we think we might have the correct venue for the location. Either way, nobody's going to turn down this concert. But I originally shot for a venue of like 700-800 people, and we've kind of refocused that down to about 300. I can sell out a venue for 700-800 people. That's not an issue. The problem is I'll be very real with you. I don't want to pay the headliner cost to get somebody out to a venue that big. I can pay a headliner literally half what they would want for a venue half that size, but still make the same amount of money. I mean, sometimes you have to look at the perspective of business and just run with it. It's been a long week, though. I won't lie. I'm a little worn down. I won't front about that. I'm a bit worn down this week. It's been a long week already, and a long way to go still. I think. Yeah, it's like I tell people is I don't want to sit around and moan and groan and bitch and complain about it being a long week. I mean, that's life. Get over it, kiddo. Right? I mean, let's be real. So I want to get into the first topic before we get to our break here in like 5 minutes and go over the first topic. I'm not sure, like I said, if Chris is going to join us. I know he's got to drop the kids off. One of the stories that's being brought up today was actually brought in by Chris, and so it would make me all the more happier if he was on the phone with us. However, I can't sit back and wait for him to call. So we're just going to get into the next story, or the first story. Now, the first story, of course, comes to us for all you Coloradans out there. Coloradans. For all you Coloradans out there. That's how my family from Ohio used to say it when they come out. They'd be like, you from Colorado. I'm like, there's an O in there somewhere. Just Colorado. Colorado. My Aunt Sandy, I love her to death. She's like my mom. I lived with her in high school. And she would always be like, we live in Colorado. And I'd be like, no, we don't. We live in Colorado. As in, oh, there's an O in there. And then she would chase me out the house and try to kill me because you don't talk back to Aunt Sandy. So it's been an interesting week because of a lot of those we call them they're more like the quarters. So you see, you have like the general election every 4 years. You have the midterms every 2 years. And then you have the quarterly election, which is every year. Okay. So in a lot of places, there's been a bunch of quarterly elections that have taken place over this last week. On Tuesday specifically, you know, it's the first Tuesday in November is the day to go vote. So no matter what year it is, that's been the general consensus for voting in the United States. Now, I mean, sometimes you'll see a special election that's derived or whatever, but 90% of the time, most of your elections, again, most, not all, most are going to take place or happen around the first Tuesday in November. That's just the standard is, which, by the way, I think is a total setup, because if you think about it, we fall back time zones, right? We fall back the first Sunday of the year, and then we vote on Tuesday. So as long as the first Sunday isn't on the 5th, 6th, or 7th, you can pretty much bet your sweet ass that you're going to get an extra hour of sleep before you vote. So I think that, again, I'm just speculating. Don't know this to be a fact, but I'm saying I speculate that voting is tied into the time zone change to give voters an extra hour of sleep so they can make it to the polls. That's my theory. Probably completely wrong, but who knows? Also, some other stories that if we have time to get to them, we'll get to them. If not, we'll get to them tomorrow. Maryland prosecutor claims marijuana decriminalization can and increase the murder rates in Maryland. Now, I'm just going to throw it out there. I think that prosecutor's hired in shit. I think he's high as hell. Another story we're going to get to either today or later on. Mexican Supreme Court opens door to recreational pot use. I dig it. Let's see what it's about, though. And then, of course, like I said, the two big things happening here at home are Colorado approves letting, of course, Colorado voters approved to let the state keep the pot sales tax, which I think is a good thing. Don't let none of that money go to the feds. Until you stop fucking with us, until you stop fucking kicking down fucking doors in Colorado, fuck you, you don't get a dime. Fuck you, you get nothing, bro. $66 million in tax revenue overflow. You get a fucking penny until you stop busting people in Colorado for pot. Pretty soon we're gonna have to start setting up decriminalization zones and DEA free zones. I got a better idea. How about everybody legalize fucking pot? Lift the ban on a cash crop that provides fuel for cars, food for people, medicine for the sick. That's just 3 things of the thousands. Lift the prohibition nationally. We don't need decriminalization zones. We don't need DEA free restrictions. See, the problem with Colorado is, and what I worry about in Colorado is that by the DEA getting the old kick to the dick because they're trying to bust pot heads and pot growers and pot dispensaries. So Colorado gives them a kick to the dick and says, you know what? Not going to help you. Not going to help you. Not going to provide you with any police assistance, any radio assistance, any intel, nothing. I'm not going to help you. You're fucking with my people, and my people are within the accordance of the state law of Colorado. I'm not going to help you. Go fuck yourself. The downside is that I think that could be putting a hamper on the intel that could be useful for the DEA for heroin dealers, cocaine dealers, methamphetamine dealers. You don't want to know the shit we were able to get away with. You can quote me on that one. Because of a lack of the DEA presence. However, you don't want to know how many times I've been tailed and seen me being tailed. Officer Anson, I'll call that motherfucker out. He knows who he is. Lead uniformed police officer in Colorado Springs. Sitting down the block from a house that I was at that turned out to be a trap house. Yeah, we know who you are. I'm glad I'm out of that lifestyle, but let me just tell you, there's some dirty shit going on in Colorado Springs with the cops. Cops in Colorado Springs remind me of frat boys. Polished, squeaky clean on the outside, dirtier than shit on the inside. A President Sanders could only reschedule marijuana, but no real end to prohibition in sight. I think that's a valid story only because, Sanders has sat around claiming that he can lift prohibition on marijuana. I think he's full of shit between you and me. Because the law does not favor him being able to do that. Just let's be clear about that. I think Bernie Sanders is a wonderful guy. He's a bit of a socialist in his political views. I guess I've been accused of being a socialist too, because I can tell people all the time is I have a genuine feeling in my heart, literally a genuine feeling in my heart, that it takes a village to raise an idiot. And I am not an idiot. Therefore, how many villages did it take to raise me? Honest question, no real answer. So if you want to call me a socialist for saying that, hey, it takes all of us to do this, this is a fucking team effort. If you're going to call me a socialist for that, then I'm definitely a socialist. Make sure you quote that whole statement and don't quote part of that, bitches. Fucking clones. Somebody out there's going to go, Mr. Tre's a socialist. Heard him say it right on his show. Yep, fucking socialist. It's not what I said. I said I've been called a socialist. And if believing that it takes one village to raise one idiot makes me a socialist, then at that point, sure, fine, call me a socialist. Be a dick. I believe in capitalism. I believe in America's values and ways, but I also believe that the rich shouldn't pay 15% and get as many tax breaks as I do. Why? You have the money. Now, I also believe in a fair tax code. So I don't think that the rich should pay 25% of their income while I only pay 10. I think a fair flat rate of 15% sales tax is legit. However, or 15% tax is legit. However, if I only make $40,000 a year and you give me an exemption for that tax or against that tax code, then fuck it, I'm in. I'm going to do it. I'm down. We're going to take a music break. Check out this track by me. We're going to talk about a little bit about music, what's going on with me. So not Colorado, but so a lot of stories going on in the news, and we're going to hit these suckers hard as soon as we get back from the break. We'll be right back after the music break. You're on High Tide Stick with the Doc MistaTre.
Colorado, old school, Caddy, St. Billy, yeah, great smoke. I look so clean, I look so smooth, my glasses wide closed. I ride with straps, seatbelts, the butt of that joke. Talking shit, my squad's been a faster than a sin, the gap on spokes. That's a fact, hey, smack. Walking over Colorado, hip-hop like a doormat. They said my time was limited, but I chose to ignore that. After haters, no one chat with me, but you can't afford that. That's a fact, you face blank. Getting the rear view like the rest of them and fall back. You just a piece of the puzzle, me, I'm really all that. You want it from me, get it, snitch, boy. Just remember I fall back. You know what they call that real G shit, you wanna try me? I don't want error from the text, wanna go or grind me. Switch the house to my fuck a record deal, get the meter behind me. Mike was sitting on shot for a record deal, black trains on the side me. There's a back, I'm on one. I'm on one, already on one. There's a back, I'm on one. I'm on one, already on one. I'm on one, already on one. There's a back, I'm on one. I'm on one, already on one. There's a back, already on one. I tell you, my eyes are rising, still waiting on my demise. All my team in the skies, that's that shit that I despise. Nothing everybody eyes, you come with me on my rise. Turns out that my close boy no different than them other guys. No surprise, he was the first to hold or die. I've been this dope since I was alive. You think life was swap? Now say goodbye. First you get I was born to fly. You born to hate, you born to die. And tell me I don't survive. Envy me, I wouldn't mind. I'm just a normal guy that says things I really mind, though. I got fans that can even go to Colorado. You know they love me in New York and on the islands, bro. I stuck my dick in the game and fuck the shit out that hoe. That's a fact, that's a fact. Believe that. You niggas whack, you need to see that. That's a fact. Believe that. You niggas trash, you need to see that. Oh, that's a fact. I'm on one. I'm on one. I'm really on one. That's a fact. I'm on one. I'm on one. I'm really on one. I'm on one. I'm really on one. That's a fact. I'm on one. I'm on one. I'm really on one. That's a fact. I'm really on one.
Yeah, I'm on one. That's a fact. So anyway, so let's get into this Colorado story. Now, High Times Magazine has coverage of this story. Just to kind of give you guys a heads up on that. Of course, Kristen Wyatt from the Associated Press really wrote a much better story, or more lengthy story, than KRDO spent on it. No, not knocking my boys over there at KRDO. But essentially, Colorado voters have agreed to allow the state to keep $66 million worth of marijuana taxes, despite an accounting error that would have forced the government to refund the money to taxpayers and pot growers. An error in a pot tax measure approved 2 years ago led to the ballot measure that passed Tuesday. The error required the state to ask voters again if they could keep the revenue collected last year from a 10% sales tax and a 15% excise tax on the recreational pot. The vote means the state wouldn't have to refund the $66 million. If Proposition BB failed, the 10% sales tax would have been temporarily cut to almost nothing. The state will put the money towards school construction and education and anti-drug efforts. Lawmakers instead insisted that the marijuana money would be spent as voters generally intended when they approved the taxes in 2013. For example, the measure sends $40 million to school construction fund, but it also gives money to some new recipients, including the 4-H Club, Future Farmers of America. In the case of youth clubs, the money is actually going to the Colorado State Fair, which expects to receive about $300,000 for renovations. I'm kind of torn between this, because I look at it like this. I don't want the money back if you can spend it correctly. If you can do a good job with the money, if you can appropriately put this money where it goes, these taxes where it goes, I'm all for it. I mean, it's a legit matter, you know. I mean, let's put the money back into the kids, let's put the money back into the schools, whatever you want to do, or however you want to make this happen. I think that's a legit way to make it happen. I think that it's cool that the voters are being grown up about it and saying, hey, you know what? That's tax money. Rather than take a very small check, by the way, you're talking about with $66 million, you're talking about each resident maybe getting 100. maybe 1,000 if you're lucky, somewhere in between there. It's gonna be like a state tax. No, don't get me wrong. There are legitimately people out there that probably are concerned with this. There are legitimately people out there that may need that money. I look at it like this, though. All honesty, if you didn't purchase marijuana, or you didn't purchase, if you didn't purchase any weed, if you didn't purchase anything related to weed, if you are not in the industry, if you didn't work concerts in the industry, if you didn't do any of that, I don't agree with you getting any of this money. I'm going to be very real with you, and I have a very valid reason why. Because you didn't pay any of these taxes. Why are you owed anything? I mean, hell, let's go further. Maybe you voted no for this measure way back 2 years ago. Maybe you voted no for this measure in Colorado. You don't deserve that money. You don't deserve a cut of it. You really don't. It's not personal. It's really not. It's not personal. You're going to take it personal because you're a little girl wrapped up in a man's body, but it's not personal. It's really not. I'd rather the state take the money. I'd rather the state turn around and use that money for something positive. I'd rather them use it for, anti-drug campaigns for kids. I'd rather them use it for roads. I mean, school construction. I'd rather them use it for anything other than giving it to a bunch of people who voted no. Because, in all honesty, for someone like me, I look at it like this. If I'm not going to get all the taxes I spent in starting a marijuana business, if I don't get and all the money I spent in starting my business, if I don't get that back, fuck you. We're talking about $10,000 worth of equipment bought over the last 2 years to remain relevant in the marijuana industry as a DJ. We're talking about literally $10,000 to $20,000 worth of liquid cash never received for services in the industry. You're talking about all the different people who were supposed to pay me and never did. All the different things that really kind of amount and or define sort of the who, what, when, where, and how of pot. When I think of it from that perspective, I go, no, fuck it. You know what? Let the people who deserve it have it. And at this point, I think that's everybody can benefit from this if the state keeps it. Now, there's a couple of catches. The state has to do what they said they do. The state has to legitimately use the money the way they said they would. If they don't, then oh hell no. Moving on. Next topic, right? I mean, that's really where I stand with that is that it's moving on. It is what it is. Moving on. Next story, of course, coming to you from Fox 17 in West Michigan, says marijuana patients' rights tested when using concentrates, and it's really about a marijuana medical patient's rights and more or less the rights of the father to fight for a medication for his child under some laws in Michigan that Michigan's kind of tricky, and this is why I like having Chris on the phone, because Chris can explain this a little bit better, that Michigan's a little tricky. It legitly is a little tricky. There's a lot of, in my opinion of the matter, there's a lot of I'm going to call it circle jerk behavior going on in Michigan due to the fact that, here you can buy it, here you can't. Here you can use it, here you can't. Here you can get it, here you can't. There's just so much circle jerking going on up there. And I think that there needs to be a clear-cut, clean path to marijuana as a medication. And until that happens in Michigan, like it is in Colorado, like it is in Washington and several other states, ironically, the clear, easier path to medication involves legalization of recreational use. Funny, isn't it? Here's your story, people. Grand Rapids, Michigan. A Spring Lake father already served jail time and is due back in court for another felony charge for medical marijuana concentrates possession despite having a medical marijuana card. Bullshit. That's bullshit right there. Max Lorenzink told Fox 17 he has suffered years of pain from a long list of ailments, including herniated back discs. I have one of those. Hurts like a motherfucker, let me tell you. I can barely sleep at night. And severe celiac disease. Yet, when he started to use prescribed medical marijuana edibles and concentrates that his pain began to fade, here's what happened, or here's the catch. Even though Lorenzo King has a medical marijuana card and thought he was following the law, marijuana concentrates are not necessarily protected under Michigan's Medical Marijuana Act. If nobody stands up for it and it just keeps going the way it is, how many people are going to get thrown under the bus for using their prescribed medicine? Asked Lorenzik. It's just ridiculous. Lorenzik said that he is fighting for his health and the freedom to take the prescriptions that takes his pain away. Medical marijuana edibles and concentrates like butane hash oil. He says that when I got on the edibles, it was able to calm my stomach down enough to get things under control better than any medications they prescribed to me. Recently, Lorenzik was charged with a felony marijuana concentrate possession. As he awaits court, the judge ordered him to be drug tested. Now he said he is forced back on powerful painkiller pills. Lorenzik said that made him feel like a zombie. I've had to go back to the narcotic pain medications, and it's just terrible, said Lorenzik. But here's another problem. Under the current Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, usable marijuana is defined only as the dried leaves or dry flower of a plant. Under its Section 4, users are protected to have up to 2.5 ounces of unusable marijuana, not concentrates like Lorenzik depends on. Concentrates are not presently defined under the Act, and therefore, according to the People versus Carruthers, do not qualify for Section 4 immunity, said Nicholas Vandler, attorney with Smith, Huey, Rice, and Rogan. However, users of medical marijuana can find affirmative defenses under Section 8 of the Act, and that they meet a certain set of factors. They'll be able to prove their innocence via that method. Why are you having to prove your innocence is really my biggest concern with this story. I mean, like, blows my mind. Biggest concern with this story is because it's a legal deal there, and basically what you did is so here's what you did is you made this is like having like liquid codeine as legal, but Tylenol with codeine is illegal. This is like having, this is like having cough syrup laden with opiates as illegal, but the pills are legit. Still the same medication, still can be taken in the right proper doses, but it's illegal. It's beyond me. I mean, it's beyond me. At a loss for words, if anything. I think this is a story that definitely warrants a hell of a lot more attention at this point. I think that it's a little scary, actually. Last story before we go to our next break. Sorry. Last story before we go to our next break, though. Let's do it. Let's see here. We're going to go. Americans killed by cops in the United States. This, by the way, again, I can't stress enough that this statistic scares the bejesus out of me. But Americans killed by cops now outnumbers Americans killed in the Iraq War. The increase in police brutality in this country is a frightening reality. In the last decade alone, the number of people murdered by police has reached 5,000. The number of soldiers killed since the inception of the Iraq War, 4,489. What went wrong? Well, in the 1970s, SWAT teams were estimated to be used just a few hundred times per year. Now we are looking at over 40,000 military-style knockdown and knock and announce police raids this year. And that's because they couldn't get a no-knock warrant. First off, let me explain something to you. If you have to knock with a warrant, then why the fuck do you need SWAT? If you have to knock with a warrant, then why the fuck do you need SWAT? Good question. Because if I have a no-knock warrant, that means that the situation has escalated and or is threatening enough that the knowledge of my presence to come to your door and serve you with a warrant could be detrimental to the community, your safety, or my safety. That is what a no-knock warrant means. It means that the knowledge of my presence in your vicinity to serve a arrest warrant or a search warrant, to serve the warrant itself, knocking would be detrimental to the safety of the people around you or yourself or myself as an officer, right? These are knock and announce warrants. They are using SWAT to walk up to your door and serve you papers, something a uniformed officer could do. And they're using SWAT for it more than 40,000 times a year. SWAT shot a pot dealer in New York, fabricated what the pot dealer said the pot dealer drew down on him, but there was no weapon in the home. But they say he drew down on him. They shot and nearly killed him. He was in a coma. They fabricated a story to cover their ass, and he woke up out the coma and said, "Whoa, that's not what happened." Haven't seen the story back in the news since the guy woke up from the coma. Surprised? I'm not. Because nobody wants to know that the police are running around, kicking in people's fucking doors and killing Americans every single day, and they're lying about it when they fuck up. We'll be back after the break. I'm the Doc MistaTre. Here's a little old school RMK on Throwback Thursday. Y'all some haters, featuring Richard's Dollar Pursuit and, of course, my man, Super Hef from Miami. Enjoy the track. We'll be back after the break.
All right, man. We was sitting around, man. We was at work up in the road, smoking a chop on lunch, man. Yeah, I said it, a chop, nigga. And Rick Myers, he's like, we gonna do some of this, and well, you know, this is pretty much the first thing that came to mind. This right here, and I said, I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to my ride. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters. I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to my ride. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters. I stay fly high to the fucking sky. Birds sitting, answer haters' questions. Why? Shoes all white, she called me crispy clean. Pockets money stuff, she called them Krispy Kreme. Holy shit, got a wallet having a wet dream. Y'all stay hating cause I'm more than I seem. Why chicks in your contact list making my phone ring? Cause I'm off to change two bracelets and all of your fucking rings. Off in the bed, all your fucking jewelry. I stay so far off the charge, yeah, it's fucking scary. Hey, Rick and Thomas, when I'm done, they gone and heard me. Can I get a witness, and who's the fucking jury? If he implies a crime, vote guilty to convict me. Just like they did way back in 02 down in Tempe. Go back to when I was trapping, please tempt me. I'll give you bitches a million reasons to resent me, cause I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to the sky. That's why y'all some fucking haters. I can't fucking deny that I stay fly. From my shoes to the sky. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters.
Looking through the lenses of my fucking sunglasses, and all I see around me is some fucking haters. So I tell rap and trade to watch the body language. Yeah, look at Thomas in case he try to play us. Man, you know we lying, you the land pavement. Money on my mind, don't care about the pavement. Rolling forward, perk, getting high in a spaceship. Some on my tongue, I'm a bad lady safety. Then you wrap this up and then really fucking bitch. So we fuck the game up, we taking no fish. So if you average fly like a G4s, well, homie, I'm a fucking miss. So you know my game official. Going at your girl, man, she like to blow my whistle. I'm not Kirkle, but keep it banging like a pistol. Shit where I want, like I don't need a litter. Travel so much, like I don't need a drip.
I can't fucking deny that I stay fly from my crib till I die. That's why y'all some fucking haters. I can't fucking deny that I stay fly from my crib till I die. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters.
I know you see me floating, moon walking on them haters. Riding by, riding high, so inflated, always deep-baited, quadruple X-rated. Touching on the suit, I keep them elated, celebrated. Yeah, I know you like that. I make it boomerang, she bring it right back. Yeah, ladies love me, girls adore me, even the ones who ignored me. Like the rap grab the mic by the neck on the throat, the Cadillac Eldor ready to go. The throttle on cruise, the bass like I'm Ubo J on the island where the sand is blue. Smoke make it seem that the grooms me, cash rules are instinct for you and me. Stay paid, self-made, gotta keep it elite. RMK, nigga, let's eat. Oh man, we got it made. The mission don't stop, the message won't fade. Baby girl, feed me love under the shade. Can't deny, I stay fly, gotta keep it A-grade. Yeah.
I can't fucking deny that I stay fly till the end of fucking time. That's why y'all some bitch ass haters.
Oh yeah, we are back. And of course, final segment of the show. Hello. Okay, there we go. Now we're working. Maybe nobody heard you anyway because it wasn't working. Hang on a second here. I'm in an argument over the break room and coffee grounds. I'm blaming her. She's blaming me. That's what cousins do. Ask our parents. So anyway, back to the stories. So 2015 election results are in. Ohio issue 3 fails. Again, as I alluded to earlier, I absolutely support the failure of this measure. I think that Ohioans were stupidly ripped off in this issue 3. Marijuana monopolization was soundly rejected by the voters of Ohio on Tuesday, but some would argue that this is a defeat and a setback for marijuana legalization, but they're wrong. In a weird way, this is a victory for marijuana legalization in general and the marijuana legalization movement in particular. With over 3/4 of the voters counted, major news organizations were projecting defeat of state issue 3 in Ohio, with voters running nearly 2-1 against it. By the time Reasonable Ohio was losing the vote in every single county, with all but one reporting partial returns. They weren't winning anywhere in the state. Why? Simple. Issue 3 was a selfish and greedy attempt to exploit marijuana legalization for the personal gain on the part of the financial backers of Reasonable Ohio and opposition from the marijuana customers. High Times and a broad spectrum of legalization supporters stopped this foolish initiative from hijacking the reform movement. Reasonable Ohio's proposal to gain control of the legal marijuana market was a cynical ploy. They thought marijuana users were so desperate they'd support any proposal to provide legal marijuana, even if it meant giving up the cultivation rights to Reasonable Ohio cartel of 10 civilian companies. They were wrong, and they lost big in Ohio. I agree. And one thing I'll say is Nick Lachey, by the way, and I'm going to call him out because he's probably the biggest name listed as part of Reasonable Ohio, but I'm going to call the little boy band boy out. This is a monopoly, folks. This is the shit you do on the game Monopoly to win. You cut out the competition, you monopolize, and then you build cool little green and red houses and hotels. This is monopoly. You are trying to force Ohioans to only allow 10 companies in the entire state to grow, produce products of, cultivate, and use, from a business perspective at least, marijuana. Ask me about that and I'll tell you that's bullshit. I mean, that's reasonable bullshit. I can't believe that. I mean, why would you ever, we'll go smoky mode on them. What up?
What up?
You're sorry I missed your call, by the way. You called when I was during a break and I was grabbing coffee.
Coffee break.
Oh yeah, gotta have my coffee. I'll kill somebody. I'm like that dude on McDonald's. I am liable for murder up until that first cup of coffee. After that, sweet as a honeybee. That means
to have affirmative actions that you can play on, but other than that, you really don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to concentrates.
okay, so would it be better if people
they're treating it like heroin up here.
Hang on, I'm commenting on one of your friends in that post I put about the show. I'll explain it better. See. All right, I just said it's it's kind of like behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because the truth is the minute I can get the broadcaster and the encoders back up, we're gonna go back to radio. I need to as much. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care if he hears this because he knows how I fucking feel about it. As much as it pains me to admit this, I need Josh Haven as much as Josh Haven needs me.
Absolutely.
Josh knows dick about radio. He knows dick about running a business, and I'll say it right to his fucking face because I already have. But
right.
The motherfucker knows computers better than anyone I know.
Right. What are you having problems with?
He sent me a shitty contract, and I told him I wouldn't sign the contract, and then
oh yeah.
This is the vote that everybody in Florida wants mayor to run. Hold
on. Here we go. Thank you for voting. Current results are below. Stay tuned and updated. Okay, so enter hotair.com. just released the numbers for a live poll that they did at townhall.com. And it's here in Florida, there was a 1% of unsure voters about legal marijuana. 13.1% said no, and 85.8% said yes. Now, I bet there's at least a 20% margin of error on there, though. Guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're talking about online voting means I can control who gets to vote simply by only sending it to my friends who are about pot. With that said, though, with a 20% margin of gain or loss, you're looking at 65% voter passing, which is more than enough to get it passed here. You see what I'm saying? Now, I want to talk to you about this Ohio thing, issue 3. I know that's been a big deal up there in that area with the big you know, they kind of sort of got like themselves like a political super PAC.
So yeah, they had 10 big corporate people that wanted to do the growing, and only them.
Well, yeah, and they only put up the money. I think it's a great loss for them, because you know what? Anybody who is legitly about marijuana as a plant of healing, as a plant of rescuing for other drugs, as a plant of health, they're not trying to monopolize. They're not trying to monopolize anything like this. I mean, this is definitely these. Now, granted, I'll pat them on the back. These are corporate people with the vision to see what could be there. But again, my concern is laden with issues surrounding you try to monopolize. Look, bitch, this ain't Park Place and Boardwalk. You don't get no hotels, motherfucker.
Right. The only thing they're trying to do is capitalize on the money end of it. They do not care about the sick people.
They don't care about the medicine behind it.
They are not going to have compassion for anybody other than their pocket.
And the worst part is I still am a fan of the man's music, but I really question the person as a man is Nick Lachey. Great artist. I'm an artist too. He's a great artist. I respect him as an artist. I really am concerned that he was involved in this, knowing that he has such a big heart and such a big charitable heart, and you're over there trying to prevent anybody and everybody in Ohio from getting weed. Now, there's a lot of pissed off people didn't pass that wanted weed. But my thing is that they tried to play like the heroin junkie role. You know, the drug dealer to the druggie role. This nigga is so desperate, I'm gonna charge him double for this for this shit, because he'll pay it because he's that desperate. And Ohio stood up and said, "No, bitch, we're not that desperate that we're gonna allow you to monopolize this shit. No. Right.
So I think it's a win. Black market.
I think it's
yeah, it is a big win for Ohio. Absolutely. Because without it, yeah, they're calling it a win. Because I mean, even Willie Nelson's calling it a win.
You can't let somebody you can't monopolize.
Right, no.
I mean, that's one thing is that there are antitrust laws in this country. This shit should have been torn off the books by the federal government out the gate.
Before it even hit the ballot. See, the federal government's trying to stay out of all the states' legalization.
And that's where the lines get blurred and crossed, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right there.
Absolutely.
All day, every day. I can't see you allowing a monopoly in your state and you're allowing everybody to cut you out. I mean, that to me is just, it's ludicrous. It's hogwash. I mean,
absolutely.
Insanity is another way. Last topic that we already covered. I want to get your opinion on it. We only got a couple minutes left in the show. And that's, of course, CNN reporting that it may or may not have been, but most likely is looking towards or pointing towards a ISIS bomb brings down a jetliner over Egypt full of Russian passengers. Straight direct attack on Russia? Absolutely or no?
Right.
I think it was a message.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was a message: get out of this war or you're next. And the thing is Russia, you know, like you're not going to see, you might see a plane full of people from multiple nations coming out of that area. You're probably not going to see a whole shit ton of you're not going to see a whole shit ton of like planes loaded with nothing but Americans unless they're military planes. And then good luck. Any SAM or surface to air missile that you could shoot, you're not getting a bomb on the plane first off, unless you have a military insider on our team. So you're not going to get a bottle on the plane.
Right.
And then even then, that's very, 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 very unlikely. It's very unlikely that homegrown domestic terrorism is going to happen on a U.S. military flight. Second off, they have countermeasures on the plane, countermeasure flares to get the lock, break the lock from a surface to air missile. Two, these are combat fucking pilots that know how to fly that big bitch. You know, like you wouldn't believe. I've seen, dude. I grew up next to an Air Force base my whole life.
They fly those big bombers like jet planes.
I'm telling you, bro. Like I used to sit out there in Colorado Springs on the south side because my street is literally the end of the tarmac. If you go all the way down it and you kind of go like a half a block over, because they switched the lanes. Where my street that I used to live off of literally used to go right to the airport. And then they put that, you know, the interchange shit in or whatever. So you have to kind of go up over a half a block and then back on the interchange, and you're on your way to the airport. But anyway, long story short, i.e., geographically speaking, my street was like the border of where the tarmac ends. So everything that comes off that plane, I could sit at the end of my street and just take pictures of it all day. And I'll tell you what, I've got some great freaking photos on Trey Zola's graphic design page on Facebook, back like 6 months ago and shit. A plane's coming off the tarmac and I'm shooting them from 2.5 miles away, and they're only, I don't know, 2,500 feet off the ground, about a half a mile off the ground.
Right.
And I mean, and they're just dipping and swerving. And I mean, like you said, they fly them like a fucking jet.
Yes, absolutely, they do.
Goddamn cowboys up there. I call them sky cowboys because those boys, man, they got it. Those sky cowboys got it. I envy you for your job, by the way, because I wish I could have that job.
Yeah, me too.
That's the cool job, just to get to, you know, fly on the seat of your pants. You never know when that plane could come down. May never happen to you, but the every day you go to work, you can die. Now, I mean, every day you wake up, you can die. But you know, when we're talking about percentages and risks, your percentage and risk is way higher than mine, buddy.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not though, because I ride bike to work every day for my workout. So maybe my percentages are a little higher. So anyway, that's pretty much all we covered today, man. I mean, we're going to get rolling again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Chris, I'm going to get you out of here because I'm personally going to get out of here. Unfortunately, I have to be to work at the butt crack of dawn. Otherwise, I'd just stay on the phone with you after we got off the phone. But either way, we're going to get out of here. And, of course, I want to thank Chris for being on the phone with us. As always, Chris, you know I love you, bro. And, of course, Sucker Fish, let's do it tomorrow, bro. I got some good topics for you tomorrow. Bernie Sanders and several others.
All right, cool.
All right, bro. Later, bro. So we're going to get out of here. And that's been the show today. I'm, of course, the Doc. You've been on High Tide Stick. Enjoy the music interlude today. We're going to go with, it's Throwback Thursday. So let's go with some Throwback MistaTre for you guys. Some old school MistaTre from like way back in the day. Some freestyle stuff. How's that? Yeah, let's go with some freestyle. We'll go all the way back to the first album. No, the first album was Chase the Rockies, but that was like, I wouldn't even call it a freshman album. I call that like a junior high album. It's one I should have done by myself, in all honesty. Let's be real with it. Anybody who knows why, but let's keep it like that. But anyway, so here's some old school MistaTre. I'm out of here. Peace. Sucker Fish. Speakeasy. High Tide Stick. I'm the Doc MistaTre. You've been on live with the Doc MistaTre.
And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see it coming now. This is now. Y'all didn't think it's coming now. Y'all didn't see it coming now. It's right. Just the beginning. Come on. If it's just beginning, it's just begun. And I just told you niggas, I'm from the Valley of the Sun. I got them lyrics that'll keep your bitch straight, strong. And when I come, nigga, then you know it's been wrong. Cause I got lyrics, nigga, and they won't stop. And yeah, when I'm in this booth, it's freestyle straight off the top. Fuck you niggas, man, we done opened up shop. And you could catch us on the south side, nigga, what's up? Give me my love, nigga, I'm not asking, I'm the man then. And I done told you niggas, yeah, that's right, I'm the man then. And y'all motherfuckers better watch your mouth, cause I'm the king of the Rockies, way down south. I come so close to the border of Mexico. And Phoenix niggas got connects out to the border, you know. And me and RDP, man, we rep the show. If we them Rocky Mountain Kings, bitch, we ready to blow. Jordan, DJ, golden now, listen now, RDP. Now, Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, y'all didn't think it's going down. Listen now, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, and this is just the beginning. Come on.
22 years old and I'm in the game. The mission of my life, dog, it's in my name. Riches dollar for food, keep it hotter than the flame. I'm the best, not you. Everything you say sounds the same. 22 years old and I'm in the game. The mission of my life, dog, it's in my name. Riches dollar for food, keep it hotter than the flame. I'm the best, not you. Everything you say sounds the same. Keep up at my speed and stay the fuck out my way. This is just the beginning, so imagine what's on the way. RMK's headed to the top, RDP and MistaTre. We're too good to ever stop, so you know we're here to stay. This is dope and solo rapper that is known to mankind. Put us together, we're the best for as long as we stand alive. Better than any rappers, be competition by landslide. Coming for all you bastards, y'all can run but can't hide.
Jordan, DJ, golden now, listen now, RDP is coming now, it's now. Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. And this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, y'all didn't think it's going down. Listen now, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, and this is just the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see Trey coming down. Listen now, RDP is coming down. Listen now, Rocky Mountain Kings is where the fuck is going down. Ain't no rhyme, that's the beginning. Come on, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, y'all didn't think it's going down. Listen now, y'all didn't see it coming down. Listen now, and this is just the beginning.
I blows like Mariah on that cheap pin, no lighter. High as the empire, feel like I'm walking on wire. Say I blows like Mariah, got me looking for that key. Suspend them high notes, blowing smooth out a leader.
I blow homegrown, hit rival shop shit. And when I crack that joint neck snap, the nose twitch. Keep you looking K9 on some dog shit. Step out the whip, they be like, K on that phone shit. I'm on that fat chop, has it balls on shit. You on that skinny joint, that bathroom at your mom shit. The forecast for my house, they watch out for that smoke shit. The forecast for your house, they clear skies for day shit. I'm just saying, blow all day and this is RMK and you niggas playing. I'm just saying, blow all day and hot box stating, Grand Canyon saving, yeah.
Mariah on that cheap pin, no lighter. High as the empire, feel like I'm walking on wire. Say I blows like Mariah, got me looking for that key. Suspend them high notes, blowing smooth out the leader. I blows like Mariah on that cheap pin, no lighter. High as the empire, feel like I'm walking on wire. Say I blows like Mariah, got me looking for that key. Suspend them high notes, blowing smooth out the leader.
Smoking down after down, drink around after round. Getting loud by the leaders, that's just how we getting down. Jay knocks the house when they repeat that when I come around. In your pockets, loose change, brave once and I'm out. City of the scope, speed slow to that dump. Choking on my throat, got me coughing out smoke. Keisha bad chick, where I'm from, she keeps me smiling. She coming like green, so I never stop lighting. Down to the wire, burn my fingers, saving doobies in the whip. Hot box music for motor blazers, yep, choosing roach clips. Don't wanna burn my lips, grip tight, but with blunts. Never held my fingers when we riding around, nigga.
I close out Mariah. I asked the empire, feel like I'm walking on wires. Say I close out Mariah, got me looking for that Keisha. I know Tariqa blowing smooth out the leader. I close out Mariah, that G-Pin no lighter. I asked the empire, feel like I'm walking on wires. Say I close out Mariah, got me looking for that Keisha. I know Tariqa blowing smooth out the leader.
Stop young loud like my fire now broken. Ride around town, making better, get me smoking. Take a few hits on my breath and I ghost it. And you know I'm high, you can smell it on my clothing. I'm a king Thompson, I'm the empire. So high up, fucking private side wire. Love is so loud, and I don't like my wire. Caught up on a leash, and girls on fire. Take a couple toasts and I pass it to the left. Inhale it through my nose and then I hold my fucking breath. This I take the smoke till there ain't nothing left. Man, you know we smoke right away with fucking dread.
I close out Mariah, that G-Pin no lighter. I asked the empire, feel like I'm walking on wires. Say I close out Mariah, got me looking for that Keisha. I know Tariqa blowing smooth out the leader. I close out Mariah, that G-Pin no lighter. I asked the empire, feel like I'm walking on wires. Say I close out Mariah, got me looking for that Keisha. I know Tariqa blowing smooth out the leader.